This is BodyTrust, the leading edge of the wellness revolution. I'm your host, Dr. Doug, author of Chinese Medicine for the Modern World. Hi, welcome back. BodyTrust, episode number 4. I'm Dr. Doug. Today we're going to continue our discussion about reasons that people eat. And today we're going to focus on physical problems that are alleviated by eating or carrying excess body weight, because there are better ways of alleviating those problems than eating and carrying excess body weight. Let's start off with a very common reason: fatigue. Oh, I'm tired. Well, you need something to eat. That'll give you energy. You know, there's energy bars and energy drinks and energy foods. And let me explain something. When you eat something, that food goes into your digestive system. That digestive system requires a lot of energy and a lot of blood to process that food. It takes energy away from your muscles and your brain so that you can process the food. That's why we, like all omnivores in the animal kingdom, like to rest after we eat. That's a natural response. That's what the body wants to do, is just rest so that we can digest the food. Nobody eats a big meal and then goes out and runs a marathon. It just isn't going to happen, because that energy is needed to focus on the digestive system to process that food. Now, if we were herbivores, like cows or deer, their nutrition is so, weak, grass, right, that they can do that. They can eat all day and be ready to run instantly from a predator because of their digestive system. It's very long, complicated, and they can run while they're digesting. And then you take carnivores, which we're not, like a lion, for example. A lion will sleep 20 out of 24 hours a day. Cats do the same thing, because they're carnivores, because their digestive system is very short, very simple, and the food that they eat is very rich. So it takes a lot of energy to process meat. And that's why they sleep all day and all night. Well, not all night. Anyway. So next time someone says, well, you need to eat to keep up your strength, or you're tired, you need to eat. No, I'll tell you what, you know where your energy comes from? Yeah, that's right. Sleeping and resting and taking it easy. Mainly during the end time, which for us is when the sun goes down. That's yin time. Here's another common reason for eating. It's a burning stomach. People have a burning stomach. They call it gastroesophageal reflux disease. Everything's a disease, right? And what they do is, here's what's going on. They'll eat food and they're not hungry. Okay, that's to start off with. The body's not empty, doesn't have that empty feeling, it's not carry that, does not call for food, does not want food, cannot process food. But they eat anyway because they have an appetite, which means they want food. Okay, so the food goes into the digestive system and sits there. Cannot be processed very easily. It sits there and creates heat. So anything that stagnates in nature is going to pick up heat, because the energy wants to pound against the barrier, wants to get through that barrier, past that barrier, and grinds and creates friction. That's how you explain it in Chinese medicine. That heat creates burning, a burning feeling. That burning heat rises up into the throat. It's very, very uncomfortable. And so to push that down again People use the yin of food, that heavy yin, to push it down, and it resolves it. But it doesn't, because it leads to this vicious feedback loop where that unwanted food, because they weren't hungry, sits around, picks up heat, food stagnation we call it in Chinese medicine. That heat rises up, burning into the throat, and they use more food to push it down. This is a very dangerous habit, by the way. It will ruin the stomach and the digestive system, as well as lowering self-esteem, because you're not doing what your body's asking you to do. Now, maybe drinking cold water might be a better temporary solution. But the ultimate solution to GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, is to not eat. To eat very little. You might also call for something very light, like vegetables or salad, or I don't know. I can't tell you what to eat. Generally, if you're not hungry, the answer is nothing. So that's the burning stomach. And then we have a nervous stomach. People get nervous. That stomach is a muscle, and it tightens up when people get nervous, when people get anxious, when people get scared. And so they think, well, I need food. That's hunger. I need food. And so they sit down to eat. And the act of sitting down to eat sometimes calms the nervousness, or that allows the muscles to relax. That tight feeling in the stomach area goes away, and they eat food. And then they say, well, it's because I needed nutrition and I was hungry. This is wrong, because that will also cause stagnation, fat cells, and all kinds of problems eating when you're actually not hungry. So I recommend taking 10 deep breaths. If you feel a nervous stomach coming on, sit down, stop what you're doing, because that's what your body wants you to do. Stop and breathe. Take 10 deep breaths, take 20 deep breaths, and focus on allowing that midsection to relax. I'll bet you it goes away. Bet you anything. Another reason for eating is to alleviate pain, especially putting on weight. So excess yin in the form of enlarged fat cells secretes lots of estrogen, and that estrogen, as we know, does all kinds of wonderful things to make us feel good. It's yin, but if you're not sleeping through a long winter, it's not healthy yin. But people do that to alleviate pain and autoimmune diseases, essentially, which are the result of too much busyness in their life. So an autoimmune disease is a response by the body forcing us to slow down. It's the only way the body has. I mean, we've missed all those little messages, the whispering, the talking, the warnings. We just keep on living, at 98 miles an hour. And so the immune system starts eating itself, eating healthy tissue, causing very bad pain. Well, I would say you got to do what you got to do to relieve pain. You can't live with pain. But I might put a plug in for acupuncture, because acupuncture is wonderful at relieving pain. If you're in pain and you're on opioids or fat cells or whatever, I really recommend that you start getting acupuncture treatment, because it is a physical relief of stagnation, and stagnation is pain. All right, let's move on to the last category here, and that is something known as low blood sugar, also hypoglycemia. Now, this is very popular in my country, very popular. I don't really run into it too much from other people around the world. It's kind of an American phenomenon. People eat because they have low blood sugar. This is what they're taught by their emergency medical professionals. Of course, they don't have a blood sugar testing machine on them. They just repeat it. Well, here's what's going on. They're nervous. They're anxious. They're worrying. They're hurrying. This is the American syndrome. They're worrying and hurrying. I should say modern syndrome because it's spreading everywhere. And what this does is puts their bodies on an emergency basis. That cortisol comes out. Yeah, that cortisol. You know, cortisol is wonderful if a cave bear is coming into your cave and you need to chase him out. But if there's no cave bear, you don't need that cortisol functioning all day, every day. What it does is it sucks the blood sugar from the blood and forces it into the cells so that the cells can be ready to fight or flee. And so you do get a deficit of blood sugar. Now, eating food does not replenish that blood sugar. This is the big lie, because only glucose goes directly into the stomach, and water, and one or two vitamins. Nothing else. Everything else takes hours to process in the small intestine. And most sugary stuff is not loaded with glucose. It's mostly sucrose, fructose. What's happening is dopamine. We've talked about dopamine before. That bing, yay, thing that calms us down, because it's a reward center. It's that reward center. So you get that explosive taste in the mouth, and then the reward center kicks in. And guess what happens to the shaking and the headaches and the fatigue, the lightheadedness? It's not a good feeling. Not at all. Well, I don't really blame people for using food. They've been told to use food to control it. Trouble is, a lot of people who have this hypoglycemia insist that it's a lifelong thing and there's nothing that can be done for them. When actually, if they could predict it before it becomes a raging headache or whatever, just sit down on a chair or a couch and take 10 deep breaths. It'll go away. It goes away. But then they have to stop worrying and hurrying. They have to learn to stop worrying and hurrying. We're going to talk about worrying and hurrying a lot on this show in later episodes, because it's crucial to stop overeating and to attain good health. So that's all I have to say now for this segment. Thanks for watching. Welcome back, everybody. This is Wellness in the News, BodyTrust 4. I'm your reporter, Dr. Doug. And for my viewers, please excuse my t-shirt. We are suffering a beastly heat wave here in LA tonight. So we'll get right with our first story. In Science Daily, a study says that overscheduling pushes children into mental illness. I'm going to read this article, the headline: Growing demand for children to get involved in organized activities outside of school is placing unprecedented strain upon families. In other words, it's ripping them apart. A new study published in Taylor and Francis journal Sport, Education, and Society reveals just how significant a role extracurricular activities such as music lessons and sports clubs play in family life. I know so many parents who are running their kids ragged and running themselves ragged, trying to produce perfect offspring. Of course, it's having the opposite effect. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is just the beginning, my friends, of a long list of inflammatory and autoimmune disorders that will affect them and the parents at some point. So remember, nighttime is yin time. It's the time to relax, not the time to work, run around, and become perfect. It's the time to become unperfect. That's what I did every evening. I'm imperfect every evening. Next article from BBC, they went through a whole list of non-sugar sweeteners, all these chemicals, and gave their rating And you know what? They never mention stevia, which I find really peculiar. Stevia is a natural plant, and the leaves offer up an extremely sweet, no-calorie, non-toxic substitute for sugar. I use it every day. I use it in my coffee and tea because I like sweet. I like to taste the sweet. I don't eat much sugar anymore. Long story attached to that. I'll tell you that one of these episodes. So I use stevia, and it's the only sweetener, non-sugar sweetener, that is approved by the Dutch government. And you know how squeaky clean the Dutch are. They don't approve of those other three, the pink, the blue, and the yellow. They're so prevalent here that pay off the FDA, I assume, in order to become the only three sweeteners allowed. Although you can buy stevia in many forms in Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and elsewhere. Here's an interesting article, again from Science Daily. Excess weight dulls the mind. From Brown University, a new study found that children on the threshold of obesity or overweight in the first 2 years of life had lower reasoning and memory scores than lean children when they were tested much later at ages 5 and 8. So it lasted, it harmed them way back at 2 years of age, being overweight or obese. The study also indicated that IQ scores may be lower for higher weight children, period. And we know why. Because excess weight is there to dull everything, not just your mental abilities, your emotions, your vision, your hearing, your taste, your smell, your energy. Everything's supposed to be dull in order to survive a long, hard winter, which we don't have. So. Now, on the other hand, there's another article, breathing exercises sharpened the mind. The yogi masters were right. Meditation and breathing exercises can sharpen your mind, I'm reading from the article. New research explains link between focused breathing and brain health. So when you inhale deeply, you're bringing in oxygen, chi, prana, whatever you may call it, life force. Oxygen oxygenates the brain. And those brain cells, oh boy, do they need oxygen, and lots of it, and all the time too, which they get from the blood. And when you exhale, you're releasing heat, and we don't want heat building up in the brain. This is not a good thing. ADD, etc. And also relaxes all the muscles. So neck and shoulder muscles relax, and gunk can be relieved. Phlegm up there in the brain, it can be evacuated if you relax neck and shoulders. And you do that when you exhale. So deep breathing, anything that involves deep breathing, is really good for your brain and your body. And here's another article. I had to laugh when I read this. People who consume an egg a day could significantly reduce their risk of cardiovascular diseases compared with eating no eggs, suggests a study carried out in China and published in the journal Heart. So this is a collaborative East-West effort, and now they're telling you that you need to eat eggs. And how long have we been told that you're not supposed to eat eggs because they cause cholesterol? You see, food is not medicine, but the sellers of food want you to think that it's medicine. When a food becomes a medicine, it becomes a medicinal herb. And Chinese medicine uses medicinal herbs like ginger, mint, things that are substances that can be considered food, but when they're used for specific problems for a specific length of time to correct specific problems, I said that, they suddenly become herbs. But you don't take herbs the rest of your life. What's up with that? We eat eggs for nutrition because our bodies want eggs. If our bodies don't want eggs, then we don't eat them. But here's some more minds feeling that they have license to tell us, well, you have to eat an egg a day. We can't depend on that. We can't listen to them. You can listen to them, but don't let them shout down your natural instincts. We have the instinct, food choice instincts, and we're going to be talking about that very soon in another episode about how your body makes choices. Well, that's all for now, and I'm sweating like crazy, so I'm going to say goodbye. Stay tuned for the interview. Welcome to the interview portion of my show. I'm Dr. Doug, your host. Today I'm going to recommend that you watch the 4th video in that series by American Dragon Productions. Available on YouTube and also my website, and it's called 5 Substances. Go to drkind.com and go to the Chinese medicine page. Scroll down and watch that 4th video. Actually, you should watch the first 3 as well so that you'll really be up to date. Because I'm going to be talking about 5 substances, and yin and yang, and excess and deficiency, and warm and cold, and exterior and interior. So it's good to know all that stuff anyway. That's for next week. And next week we're going to have a very special guest. You're going to love her. Special guest, a special friend of mine, that is a colleague. So if you like this show, subscribe. Also, go to my website, go to the newsletter page, and subscribe to my monthly email newsletter. So I'm going to leave you with this advice. Eat without distractions for a week and see what happens. That means don't be doing anything else when you're eating. If you're with other people, shut them out. Try not to eat with other people for a week. As much as you can, take your little morsel of food or your big plate of whatever over to a corner, just like your dog or your cat, and be alone with your food and your body. When you notice the feelings in your body, in your mouth, in your esophagus, in your stomach, regarding the food, pay attention. That's why we eat without distractions. Just pay attention. And until then, trust your body. You're one infallible expert on healthy living. Hey everybody, don't forget to subscribe to my show. And while you're at it, click on that little bell so that you'll receive notification every time I post a new episode.